Hi, my name is Bethany, and I'm going to talk to you this morning about essential oils and why we should use them, why I use them for myself and my family, and why I think you should use them. They're a great tool that we are exploring and learning about this morning. Here's a little info and background on me. I am a registered nurse. I have spent time working on different medical settings, cardiothoracic, step-down ICU, rehab units, med-surg units. I've dabbled in a little bit of a few things here and there. And what I have seen in my experience is while Western medicine is wonderful and it really does save lives and it's amazing, there is a wide overuse of medicine, particularly related to things that are not life and death situations. Therefore, things like ear infections and stomach bugs and cold and flu and these nasty little bugs that we don't really like and are inconvenient for us and our families, but in all reality, they don't really harm us. They actually aid our immune system, but we don't like them, so the first thing we do is run to the doctor and ask for something to kick it. Well, because of that, we've actually created these, what we call MRSA, MRSA, VRSA, things like staph infections, super bugs that are now resistant to things like antibiotics because we have overused antibiotics so much. I can't tell you the number of people I saw that came into the facility that I was working at. We didn't really know what they had or couldn't pinpoint it down, so we just threw them on 3 different kinds of antibiotics, just hoping that one of them would reach the one bug that we needed it to reach. Because of that, we are now creating a problem as far as too many antibiotics creates superbugs who no longer die. And so that's kind of my background a little bit, and my own personal bias is that I really desired something different for my family after working in that setting, desired my children and my family to have quality immune systems that really work for themselves and tools that we can use to help our immune systems fight these things, but not necessarily just getting rid of them because they were annoying and we didn't like them. I don't like when my kid is sick. Nobody likes when their kid is sick. It's not fun for anybody, but there are many, many things that we can do to help through that process as we build their immune systems. So that's kind of my personal story. I'll tell you a little bit about why I use essential oils. I come from a dietary allergy background, and I have had migraines in the past, and I've tried Benadryl and Tylenol and Advil and Excedrin and whatever else is on the market I've tried. It worked okay. Did never really get rid of my migraine. In fact, nothing got rid of my migraine until I took gluten out of my diet. Once that happened, most of them have resolved, but I'll get an occasional headache here and there. So my mom had given me a bottle of peppermint to try, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. I've tried a lot of things. It's not really a lost cause. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to try it. So I went ahead and just put it on the back of my neck, smelled some of it, and then put it on my temples. I usually get them either here or right at the base of my skull. So I did that, and within about 5 minutes, my migraine was gone, like completely gone. I really couldn't believe it. So after that experience with oils themselves and being one of the tools I'm using for my family, I decided I really need to look into these. I really need to research them and understand why they work. I am, because of my medical background, I'm scientifically minded, and so I love to see how these things actually work in the body, why they work, and why we should use them. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about this morning. This is a great class to do in a personal setting, in someone's home, one-on-one, but, we all have obligations and families and time commitment problems and time restraint problems. So this is just a way for you to get to have this information from the comfort of your home on your time. You can watch, and if you have personal questions that relate to this, I'm happy to answer those, and that's the great thing about the one-on-one setting, but this will work for today. So what are essential oils? So we have all of these different trees, plants, shrubs, flowers, you name the foliage, and there is an essential oil in it. That essential oil is a God-given self-healing system. So because trees and plants and shrubs and things like that are not able to move about and keep themselves from harm and danger, they are given this system of essential oils within the plant that actually heal the lining of the cells within the plant. So the essential oils we find in the health food stores, like these, that are just bottled, you see these everywhere now, are the oil from those plants that are used to heal themselves. Now, the reason that they work on us is because, if you remember cell biology, our cell structures are really similar to plants. So because of that, these oils can actually permeate the cell membrane in our bodies and then diffuse throughout the blood and tissues. So a lot of people will put oils on the bottom of their feet. It's a great place to put them, pretty safe and effective, and once you do that, within minutes you can see oils throughout the whole body as it circulates through the bloodstream. So that's really, in essence, why they work. As far as more on like what they do within once they're in our body, they stimulate the secretion of antibodies, neurotransmitters, endorphins, hormones, and enzymes. So they work on almost every system of the body. They increase wound healing. They increase the uptake of oxygen and ATP. There's some biology for you. When diffused, when you put them in a diffuser in your home or you diffuse them in a bowl of water, they actually provide negative ions, which inhibits the growth of bacteria. So we can actually pull bacteria out of our air with these oils. They do not disturb the body's normal homeostasis. So what that means is my body's norm, when I take something like Tylenol, is disrupted. That's why we have this list of side effects when we take something like Tylenol. So I take Tylenol, but then I have to worry about liver toxicity and kidney damage and brain confusion. And there's a laundry list of side effects for every drug we take. And we all know that. Everyone kind of just looks at it and walks away. Whatever, it's not going to happen to me. Well, in reality, your body still has to deal with the chemical you're putting in your body. So I'm taking a Tylenol. My liver has to detoxify that Tylenol. It's not a normal substance that's supposed to go in the body, and so my organs have to deal with that. Oils don't disturb that. That's why there aren't a list of side effects. That's why you'll see on these bottles there's no child safety lock on them. So lots of our over-the-counter meds have to have child safety locks on them, because if kids got into them, it would be really harmful. These don't have that because they don't have the same effect. They don't have the same side effects. They still have the same effect in the body, but they don't have the side effects that we talk about with a lot of other drugs that we put in our body. So that's an awesome reason, especially if you have kids, to be using these oils. They don't have the same damage to the liver and the kidneys. They don't have the CNS, the suppressing the central nervous system side effects that you're going to see with other drugs. So that's a reason we use them in our home. Is I am not okay giving my infant ibuprofen and Tylenol. I don't want his liver having to deal with that. If it comes to it and we're in a really critical situation, I'm not going to step away from Western medicine. But in the everyday, day-to-day, normal fevers, teething, things like that, I'm not going to load his system with these drugs that his body isn't able to metabolize. So that's where we are using our oils in our family. Here's a couple random side effects for you. For every 1 kilogram of pure oils that is produced, between 10 and 100 synthetic oils are produced. So people always ask me, like, well, I go into the health food store and there's all these options. Which one do I choose? They all say 100% pure essential oil. Well, this is not regulated by the FDA. Europe is actually doing a much better job at regulating things like oils and herbs than the United States is. We're always quite a few years behind them. And so they don't have to have 100% within the bottle to say 100% pure essential oils. They actually only have to have 5% of the oil in the bottle. So this bottle that I have of lavender, only 5% of it would actually be lavender. The rest of it would be buffers, solvents, chemicals, you name it, fillers, water, anything to fill up the bottle that's not actually the oil. So knowing that there is so much synthetic on the market, you have to be really careful with what you're choosing. The reason being, synthetic materials that are made in a lab do not act the same way that these oils in the plants in the wild, the God-grown wild, do not act the same in our bodies. So people will say, well, I tried peppermint for headaches and it didn't work. Well, did you try peppermint that was filled with buffers, solvents, chemicals, fillers, etc., or did you try 100% pure peppermint? And it's really hard to know. because they don't have to label it 5% in there. They get to say 100% pure when that's not actually true. So just know that if it's not actually 100% pure essential oil, it is not going to have the same therapeutic effect that you will see from an oil that is 100% pure. A couple other facts. It takes 5,000 pounds of rose petals to produce 1 kilogram of rose oils. So there's some crazy statistic that there's about 80% more synthetic oils, period, than there are regular oils, which we just talked about. But the purpose of that being is there's this mass overestimation of how many oils we actually need, and they'll say, oh, we have this many oils on the market, when it's about 3 to 4 times the amount that's actually found in the wild. So we know, using our brains, those are not real oils. They have to be synthetically made in the lab. 98% of oils used on the market today are used for perfume purposes, synthetic materials. The other thing I want to say about that is a lot of people will say, okay, I go into the store and I pick up 2 different brands and I smell both of them. And I say, okay, this one smells more like lavender, this one doesn't. So this one must have more lavender in it. Well, because this is made for the perfume industry most of the time, the smell is the most important. So they're going to assume, yes, my brain thinks it smells more like lavender, therefore it must be more like lavender. That's not actually true. You cannot rely on your nose to tell you the purity of an oil found there. That's enough said about that. So we've talked about not oils. Not all oils are created equal. That's why we need to be really careful. Let's talk a little bit more. We've talked about what are oils. We've talked a little bit about how they work. Let's talk about how we use them. Okay, so I get this bottle. We're just going to keep using lavender. It's a really great one. Everyone talks about lavender all the time. I get this bottle of lavender. I bring it home and I say, what in the world do I do with this? Okay, lots of people know you can put it in your bath. You can massage it on your head. It's really relaxing. It's great for sleep. Everybody knows that side of it, right? But I don't know if you know that lavender is also an amazing immune boosting agent. Not everyone knows that. Rub it along the spine, boost up your immune system, great when you're sick, cold, flus, etc. So there's a lot to know about these oils. So with that said, make sure you're doing your research. I got overwhelmed. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. There's so many oils and there's so many things you can use them for. Start small. Start where your family needs. Say, we're struggling. We have been sick all winter long. Let's just figure out how to get our family healthy, okay? There's a million things you can do to get your kids healthy, and not all of them pertain to oils. This isn't going to fix eating a bag of Cheetos. Like, we really have to think from a holistic standpoint. These aren't magic pills. They're not going to cure bad behaviors and bad habits. So this is really part of a holistic treatment plan. We look at the whole body. We make sure we're doing all our supplements and we're eating healthy and we're getting enough sleep and we're drinking enough water and getting enough exercise, all of these things that play into keeping our bodies healthy. But these are awesome tools in that process. So we'll go back a little bit to how we actually use them. So there's 3 schools of thought. They come from different places in Europe, and the 3 schools of thought are aromatically, so we can diffuse them, we can smell them, we can put them in the air. That's an aromatic scent. We can take them internally. We can put them in some water, a capsule, just like a regular pill that we're used to taking to get into our abdomen. Or we can put them on topically, which I think is the way that people are the most familiar with using oils at this time. So we'll talk a little bit more specifically about each of those. So with aromatics, there's a bunch of different methods and ways you can do this. You don't have to have any sort of fancy machines or anything like that. However, I love having a diffuser in my home. It's great. I use it all the time. The first method is literally take your bottle, open it up, and just smell. Take some deep breaths. Inhale. This is peppermint. This will give me energy for the rest of the day. It's great. So that's literally all you do. Open up the bottle, put it in your hands, just take some deep breaths. Take some deep breaths. Now the reason this works is we have these olfactory nerves in the top of our nose here, And those olfactory nerves actually trigger the limbic system. So the limbic system is part of your brain cortex. It has the amygdala and the hypothalamus and the cortex of the upper part of the spine. It controls all of our regulatory systems. So breathing and heart rate, memory, sleep, hormones, anything that's on our circadian rhythm in a circular system is going to be found regulated in the hypothalamus in that region of the brain cortex. So when we smell these things, the olfactory nerve sends a signal directly to our limbic system. This is one of the only sense, taste, smell, all of those, that actually triggers the limbic system. Therefore, it has the ability to do both physiological and psychological effects. We know that our emotions are housed and stored in there. So we've seen a lot of really amazing things with things like grief and depression and anxiety and all of those things which are emotionally based. We can help treat and trigger through the use of oils, and that's why aromatics plays such a big role. Another side note to that is these olfactory lining in your cells within your nose are actually replaced every 28 days. So it's just a really cyclical system, really complex, really amazing that we can actually trigger things like sleep and hormones and other things. Normal drugs on the market are not able typically to get to that brain cortex because we've been given something called a blood-brain barrier, and that barrier does not allow drugs and chemicals that would be harmful to the brain to cross into the brain, which is amazing. But when we want and need help with things like hormones and sleeps, that's why it's so hard to get a hold of these things, because it is so deeply stored within our brain. Enough about that. The second method for aromatics that we can use is a diffuser. So I have one sitting on my counter. I don't know if you can see it back there. And literally I just put some water in it, a few drops, 5, 10, whatever, however much is in there, and I just turn my diffuser on. Each of these bottles, the Young Living bottles particularly, will tell you how long you should diffuse it for, how long you should put it in the air. Should it be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? It has directions for all of them for every oil you're going to use. It will also tell you whether or not it's even a good oil to put aromatically. Some of these oils are not as effective aromatically as they would say topically, so it will give you more instructions there. As a side note, Gary Young is the founder of Young Living, and he's been doing research on essential oils since 1983. He kind of is the pioneer currently in all the research that is going on, so I really trust what they're doing. They have over 280,000 compounds in their reference library right now, and they test every single bottle that comes out of their lab. So as far as purity and trusting safety and efficacy, I really trust them as a company. Method 3. You would literally pour a bowl of hot water. You can use a cereal bowl, it doesn't matter. Cover your head with like a towel to create sort of a steam tent and just breathe deeply. That will trigger the same effect of combining the water and the steam with the oils, and you'll be able to inhale that the same way. So those are 3 different ways of using these oils aromatically. The next one we're going to talk about is ingestion. So I will say with this, I would never ingest an oil that I don't know exactly what's in it, because I don't want to be putting synthetic compounds and chemicals in mine or my family body. That's one of the reasons that I don't use things like Tylenol and Advil unless it's absolutely necessary. So just know what your oil is and where it's coming from. Some research is indicating that it's actually more effective for some of the oils to be taken internally. So just something to think about there. So a couple ways you can do this. You can get like plain old vegetable capsules that are actually Young Living sells them. A bunch of people sell them, know where you're getting them from. And you just put a few drops of whatever you're targeting in for the day and take that. Some people like to do that because they don't necessarily like the taste of a certain oil. It just makes it easier to swallow. Another thing you could do, just take a glass of water, a glass of milk, put a few drops of water in and take it internally. One thing I will say about that is that oils actually dissolve paint and petrochemicals. So never put an oil in a plastic. You don't know if that oil particularly will eat the plastic. So we don't want to be eating plastic and oils. Let's keep all of our oils in glass and drink them that way. The third one is to literally put a drop on your tongue and swallow it. Some oils are considered hot. This does not mean that they are bad for you. They're just, the compounds within them are a little more spicy or irritating to the skin, things like that. So one of my absolute favorites is Thieves. It's their antimicrobial blend, and it has clove and cinnamon in it. Both of those are considered hotter. Clove is actually a naturally numbing agent. So if I put a drop here on the side of my mouth, I'm not going to feel this part of my mouth for a few minutes. So some people just really like to dilute it if they're going to take it internally, just as a warning. It's not going to hurt you to do it. I don't mind the taste, so I just do it that way. Some people don't do that. Another side I should have started with this is that I am not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose conditions or treatment of any kind. These are just things that can help you, I hope, you and your family stay healthy. And these are suggestions and research that's been done. So just, there's a lot of research out there. Do it and find what works for you guys. That's my little, I have to, disclaimer today. Topically. So a lot of people know how to or use oils topically already. So lavender is in everything, right? Especially if you have a baby. It's in the shampoo, and it's in the lotions, and it's in all these things. So that's probably not pure lavender. It's probably a synthetic compound, but it smells like lavender. So in essence, it has some amount of relaxing properties. I don't know how much really. But so a couple ways I want to talk a little bit more about topical application. So with oils, typically, you need what's called a carrier oil. It can be any sort of, any kind of oil you have in your kitchen. I wouldn't use vegetable oil, but you can. I use olive oil, coconut oil, jojoba oil, grapeseed oil, almond oil, any of those types of things. We actually put no lotion on our kids or ourselves because we have a lot of skin allergies, and we've seen a lot of breakouts from that. So we literally make our own massage oil that has a blend of coconut and almond and olive oil with our essential oils mixed in, and we do that every night for our kids and for ourselves. So with that said, each of these oils on the back will tell you, same thing like I said, how to dilute these. So it will say 4 drops of your carrier oil with 1 drop of essential oils. So you know exactly how they can be, how they should be diluted. Some of them can be, they call it neat, applied neat. That means they don't need a carrier oil. They're not hard, they don't need any sort of dilution whatsoever. You can just put it straight on the skin. If you are someone who has sensitive skin, you may want to dilute just to see if you had some sort of a reaction to that oil. Honestly, I don't see reactions really at all, but it is something, if you just want to be a little more careful, you can start there. A side note to that, if we were to see a reaction with one of these oils, it's not most likely a true allergy. Most likely what it is because these oils get into our cells. If we have any sort of gunk or anything that those oils would be targeting, it may bring to the surface some toxins. So the rash or whatever you see there could probably, is most likely a detoxification rash. It's not an allergy per se. But if it's irritating or you just don't want to use that one, just rub in some more oils, dilute it even further. Oil and water repel. So if you were to take water to try to wash it off, you're actually going to drive the oil deeper into the body. So always dilute again with more oil. The only reason I would use water is if I did want to drive my oil further into the cells. So our seed blend, it has eucalyptus in it. It's really great for congestion, coughs, anything that would be in the chest cavity area related to that. We rub it on our chests, and then I would take a hot washcloth, put it right over the top of my chest, and that would drive the oil deeper into my chest, opening it up even further. It's a great blend. We use it a lot around here. So that's about topical. Something else we need to talk about is kids and children. So everybody always asks, can I use these on my kids? Is it safe? Well, I always kind of laugh because no one asks that about Tylenol and Advil, which you should be asking it about all things. But these are natural compounds, okay? There are some things we really need to know about with them, but as far as efficacy, they work great on kids. I have an incredible resource that I highly, highly recommend. It's called Gentle Babies by Deborah Rayburn. This book I use almost every day, if not for myself, for someone else. I'm always looking something up for them. The reason I love this book in particular, it is about Young Living oils. She has more research. She talks about them. She has testimonials in here. But it's more related to babies and kids. So the rule of thumb is we always dilute further for kids, okay? There are certain oils we don't want to put on kids. There are very few that we don't want to put on kids, but just making sure that we know, is this an okay one to put on my kids? Should I dilute it even further? Typically, I at least double the dilution rate for kids. A good rule of thumb is 1.5 teaspoons of carrier oil for every drop of essential oil that you use on kids. Just a good rule to keep in your head. It's never, ever bad to dilute further. The other thing with this is, we talked a little bit about earlier, the bottoms of the feet are an awesome place to put oils. They spread throughout the body really quickly. We do that for our baby all the time. Bottoms of the feet, great place. But this is an incredible resource to have in your library. You will use it all the time. Another that I love, it's called the Essential Oils Pocket Reference. If you're going to use oils for you and your family, this is a resource you must have in your cabinet. It has every condition under the sun. It talks about every oil specifically, breaking down the chemistry behind it, where it came from, how you use it, when it was distilled, how it was harvested, the actual chemistry behind the oils themselves, how do they work in the body. If you really want like a textbook on oils, this is it. I don't use it as much for the textbook side, however, I do love researching that part of it. I use more of it for the actual, like, looking up different conditions, what they recommend, what I can use. The reason I recommend having both of these books in your library is that this one doesn't necessarily target kids and babies as well as the Gentle Babies book does. It does talk a little bit about it, but really your Gentle Babies book is your go-to with your kids. So, two great references to have in your library that I highly recommend. Just great to have on hand. I love having something I can flip through when there's something going on. You know, somebody's got a runny nose, or somebody's got pink eye, or somebody's got a GI bug. Let's just look up, what can we start with? What do we recommend? The other thing I will say about that is, people think, oh my gosh, there's so many oils. I have to get all these oils and it's so expensive. And well, yes, it is expensive. But it's not, don't be overwhelmed. You use what you have. So if I already have a few in my cabinet, if one of those are recommended for whatever I'm targeting, I start with that. I'm not going to run out and buy a new oil just willy-nilly because I have something in my cabinet that I can try. So try with what you have. If you don't have any oils, a great place to start is their Everyday Oil Kit. It has 9 oils that are used very commonly, and really you could treat almost anything with those 9 oils in some way, shape, or form. There are some other great blends that I love that are available, but you will get very far with the Everyday Oils collection. Enough said about that. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, we've talked a little bit about safety, especially when it comes to the kids. But let's talk a little further about safety just with these oils. So we talked about we always dilute for babies and kids. Dilution is never a bad thing. Some of these oils are photosensitive, which means they will attract the light, the UVA, UVB rays, even more. So particularly the lemon and the citrus blends are going to be photosensitive. So if you're going to put that on your skin, which is great, just know if I'm going to go outside, I'm going to see the effects of that. So try to do that at a time when you wouldn't have as much sun exposure, especially with the kiddos. Oils are safe to use during pregnancy. That Gentle Babies book is awesome. It will talk way more about that. Same thing, you need to do your research. Make sure that the oil that you're using is safe to use during pregnancy. I hear all the time pregnant women saying, well, my doctor said it was probably okay for me to take Advil and Tylenol and Prilosec and Xanax. And I mean, pregnancy is uncomfortable. We all know that. So we want to lessen those symptoms. But really, most of those drugs are what they call category class C. That means they haven't actually been tested, and no one really knows how much effect they're going to have on your baby when you're pregnant. So I always use caution. I never took those things when I was pregnant simply because I just didn't trust the fact that no one really knows. So these are an awesome alternative. They're not going to harm your baby, and that's why I personally used them myself. With that said, you need to be careful. There are some oils, such as clary sage, that will put you into labor. So make sure that unless you are ready and your doctor says it's okay for you to go into labor, don't be using clary sage until that point. So just those types of things are things you need to familiarize yourself with. Again, the Gentle Babies book is awesome. It will outline all of that for you. If the oil causes you discomfort, we talked about this, it could be a detox rash, just dilute it even further. A lot of people will say, well, this one kind of brought up something, so I'm going to put it on the shelf for a little while until I get a little further into it, and then we'll bring it back up and try again. You may not have a problem at that point. So a little bit more about the actual bottles themselves. So I use Young Living. We've talked about that because I trust them. They have what they call the seed to seal process. So from the time the seed goes into the ground for the oils that belong in these bottles to the time that it is bottled, they have their hand in every single part of the process. So they test every bottle that comes out of the lab. They don't allow any synthetic any synthetic chemicals or additives to be added to any of these oils. They are even researching to the point of the time of day that the plant needs to be picked in order for it to have the same amount of therapeutic effects within each bottle. Some interesting statistics. Every farm that has plants for Young Living has to submit samples of products, and they have to be subject to site inspection. Between 2007 and 2011, 34% did not meet these standards and were therefore not allowed to be Young Living farms. You can actually go to their farms. They have them all over. See exactly how they do that. They're very upfront and honest about all of their processes, and that is personally why I choose them. So we'll talk a little bit more about these bottles themselves. So each of these, you have two different sizes. This is a 15 milliliter bottle, and this is a 5 milliliter bottle. So I'll put them next to each other. You can see a little bit better. The 5 milliliter bottle has about 80 drops of oil, and the 250 has, the 15 milliliter has about 250 drops of oil. So dependent how often you use these, depending where you start, is how long these are going to last. I will say that something like Thieves we use pretty quickly because we use it all the time. Some of these other ones we don't use as quickly. The wonderful thing about these is you really only need 1 or 2 drops. I see people trying to pour 5, 10 drops. You don't need that at all. These are highly concentrated drops of oil. They're 300 times more concentrated than dried herbs. So just know you don't need a lot. They will last you a while, and you'll find what you use more in your home. My 3 favorites, of course, are lavender, peppermint, which we've talked a lot about, and Thieves, which I will go nowhere with now. And we're going on vacation, I'm taking Thieves with me. It is antimicrobial, antiviral. It battles mutating viruses, which are viruses that will change over time. Some hospitals in the United States are even using it because they're seeing it will kill MRSA, VRSA, and staph. So these are just reasons that I'm using these 3 oils. Those are my favorite ones. I think they're a lot of people's favorite ones, quite honestly. And they're a great place to start if you feel overwhelmed. We will talk a little bit about now. So everyone tells me we've kind of covered how do they work, what are they, how can I use them. I will say, don't be overwhelmed. Get your research done, figure out what you need to learn about them, start small, and then have confidence. This is about taking charge of your family's health. It's one of the tools we've been given to take charge of our family's health. So we really get to use our brains here. Like, we get to really manage and control what we really think is going on. What do we need? We have brains and we have intuition to know, I think this is probably where we're headed. Let's try this. And that's the freedom and the reason I love these oils is I really have the ability to help my family and to do so using my brain. That's the piece. We need to be responsible for the knowledge that we know, and then we get to be confident in what we know. So that's my encouragement to you. Don't be overwhelmed. So we've talked about all that, and I will just briefly talk about, everyone asks me, where do I start? I hit a little bit of this a few minutes ago, but I am a huge fan of the essential, I'm sorry, I'm looking for a sheet of paper that I can't seem to find, the nine everyday essential oil collection. So Young Living is a little bit different. It is of course, a business. And so there are no minimum orders. That's not what this is about. This is about getting the oils into your hands so that you can use them for you and your family. So you can always pay retail. Okay, you can always go online, you can call me, you can email me, whatever. Find someone who does Young Living and say, could you order me this bottle? Okay, great. You could even go online and do it yourself at some point. You're going to pay the retail price, shipping, and then you get it. It's a great option, especially if it's something that you're just trying to discover and figure out for yourself. Young Living has something called being a wholesale member. So I get all my oils at 24% off. That's the same price that you would get them should you choose to become a wholesale member with Young Living. There are 2 qualifications to being a wholesale member. You must purchase $50 a year in oils, which I can tell you that I do that in 1 month. So it's not hard to do, but if you really are someone who only wants to use them very, very occasionally, it's still not hard to do. $50 in a year is not hard, and that will just keep you as a wholesale member annually. If you don't do it, you just drop off the wholesale membership, no big deal. The other piece to that is that you need to purchase what they call a starter kit in order to be a wholesale member. You only have to do this one time. If you continue with your $50 a year, you don't have to purchase another starter kit again. The starter kits are awesome because you get a really, really deeply discounted rate with the starter kit. So the one I want to talk about, because I think it's the best one personally, is the Everyday Essential Oils kit. It's called the Premium Starter Kit. So it comes with the 9 essential oils, and they are, that's what I wanted to tell you. I have them all here. The 9 essential oils are frankincense, lavender, valor, lemon, panaway, peace and calming, peppermint, purification, and thieves. Like I said before, I could do a whole nother hour lecture on how you could use each of these oils. I do a class called the Medicine Cabinet Makeover where we literally talk about how each of these oils can replace things that are in our medicine cabinet, and you can almost cover everything under the sun with these 9. They're great. There are so many ways to use all of them. These are the 5 milliliter bottles, so it gives you a chance to just dabble and try each of these things. So you get those 9. You also get a bottle of Joy, which is great. I love it. It smells awesome. I diffuse this one a lot in our home. I was trying to find it. Here it is. This is the Joy. It's a little pink bottle. And then you get a bottle of Stress Away. This is my current favorite oil. And they give you this little roller ball even, because this is an oil that you can put on neat. So take this little thing. I put it right on my wrists. Oh, love the smell. It's great. So that comes with your kit as well. The other thing that you get is a diffuser. Now these diffusers are not cheap. So in essence, the value that they've given you here, they're throwing in the diffuser for free. So that's one of the reasons I absolutely love this kit. And this qualifies you to be a wholesale member. And then at any point you can purchase oils at the 24% off from then on. It really is the best deal. You get about $280 in product for $150. So if that is something that sounds like it would be up your alley, and that's a great place to start for you and your family, I highly recommend that kit. If you need help getting signed up, I'm happy to help you. Just shoot me a little blurb, a text, a phone call, whatever. I will help you get signed up there. The other thing is you can always purchase what they call their basic starter kit. It's a $40 kit. It really just gives you information. You don't get any products with it other than the Stress Away bottle that does come with it. So if you're just looking for a way to get in and be a wholesale member, that's a way to do it, and then you're open to purchasing your oils at 24% off as well. So I hope that this has been a really good overview for you. I know there's so much talk about oils right now. It can be so confusing, and this isn't a fad. That's what I wanted to say. Oils are an amazing tool for us and our families, and so I have found for myself, I started with one, I learned about one, and then I just, it's kind of exploded for me as far as the potential that I found with these oils. I clean with them. I put them on our families. I take them on our trips. I don't go get a bottle of kids' Tylenol. I take my peppermint with me. So it really will, as you learn and grow, you can really start to take charge of your family's health and replace things that we wouldn't necessarily want in our cabinets. So thank you for listening. If you have questions, please let me know. I hope this was helpful. Take care.